Hi, this is Lundy Kiger, and this is video 9, and it's entitled Frustrated with Myself. You would think to yourself that if you had your life saved and your life started changing and the Holy Spirit had spoken to you on 3 different occasions, that it wouldn't be a lot to be frustrated about. But I want to explain just exactly what happened, because since the time of the sting, what you're going to see in this video is the tipping point. It's the turning point of when everything that I was trying to do changed. And it changed for the better. And I had to go through a difficult time to actually see that. And I don't think that I really handled the difficult time as well as I should have. But I want to explain what it was that actually frustrated me. I've already explained in video 8 that the Holy Spirit talked to me and said that when I tell this, to tell it boldly. And my definition of boldly was getting out, speaking to people, getting out on Facebook and doing some things like that. And I really don't think that at the time I understood what bold really meant. Wasn't ashamed to tell this story, excited to tell this story. But still, I think I was falling short on the word bold. The other thing that has really become very, very helpful over time is the Holy Spirit said, tell this to those who believe. Now, I didn't really grasp that in the beginning, but I understand completely what the Holy Spirit was saying when the Holy Spirit said, tell this to those who believe. So, as I mentioned in the last video, I went to work, I started talking about this. It was easy in the beginning when people would see me after being away for a couple of months, not being out too much at all. And when somebody says, hey, I heard you had an accident, heard that you nearly lost your life, tell me about it. Or if they would even hint at it. It was just so easy to get into the story, to tell the story, and to explain the story. And I can't tell you how fulfilling it was for me to be able to tell somebody exactly what happened and how great God was to me in my life. But what I did to reach out to God in building the strong personal relationship, and I really thought that is the direction that I'm supposed to go, talking about the strong personal relationship. And it is something that is a big part of this and something that I'm supposed to do. But as I go on, I get a better idea and the understanding of the word bold that the Holy Spirit spoke about. And I think even at this point, even though I've grown, even though I've become more bold in what I say, where I say it, and what I do and when I do it, I don't think that I've really experienced bold like I'm going to experience. And we're going to talk about that more in video 10, which is going to be the final video of this series. And then we're going to move into a whole different realm. But as I said, I was spending time on Facebook, spending time talking to people. And when you live in a community with 10,000 people, you're not going to know them all, but I know quite a few of them, and the word gets around. A lot of followers. I got 5,000 on Facebook, so I get the word out there. I'm thinking that I'm doing great and I'm being bold. But as I said, I've learned a new definition for bold, and I'll learn an even deeper definition for bold as time goes on. So I'd done just about all I could, and I had a couple of days where I really didn't have anybody to talk to, anybody to speak to, trying to do what I can on Facebook. And I'd already mentioned that one morning when I got up, I was walking from the bedroom to the kitchen. Halfway there, without a doubt, the Holy Spirit said, you have more to do. And it wasn't in a soft, gentle voice. It was in a stern voice. You have more to do. Before I took another couple of steps, I grabbed my phone, and as I said, I called the chamber director. We set up a meeting room for 2 events. And first one was full, the last one's in the evening. It wasn't attended as well. But it was good for me to be able to get out there and do that. So working toward this through a lot of prayer, I've got to get the word out farther than what I'm doing. I used to be in public relations, and I thought about a lot of different things that I could do. And okay, what I need to do is I need a commercial, I need a video that shows the opening, the sting, what took place, what happened, and try to condense that down. And I get on the phone and I get on Facebook, or I get on, not Facebook, but I go online and I Google commercials, I Google companies that can do it, and I call companies, and I call companies, and I call companies. I called Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Northwest Arkansas, Little Rock, Fort Smith. Could not get anyone to return my call. I made calls back. Hey, you don't even have to come to Southeast Oklahoma. I can actually come to you and we can do it there in somebody's yard, and it will recreate what actually took place, and it'll be close enough because of the way our terrain is. And I can remember leaving a message to one. I said, look, I'm willing to pay good money to get this done. I got no response whatsoever. And I'm going to tell you, I know nothing about technology. And if you're a dad and you buy a gift for your child that's technology oriented and you're trying to put it together, you're trying to get it to work, you have an idea. But you know, I'm 67 years old now. I know nothing about it. I can't even set up my phone. You know, I had the kids show me how to take pictures. I just learned the other day how to turn the flashlight on my phone. That's how bad it is. So what I was going through is the Holy Spirit saying you've got more to do, and me wanting to do more, and me making calls, and me doing all the things that I can do, and I'm getting nowhere at all. And frustration set in. And I mean, it is a deep frustration when you know that you're supposed to serve the Lord, you know that there's things that you need to do, and you don't have the capability of doing it. And you have to call somebody and you say, look, I'm willing to pay, I'm willing to do this, and I'm willing to do that. And I became very, very frustrated. For the next few days, it was walking around, upset, any little thing with my business, anything that doesn't go right. And when we get upset, we don't pray as much. We don't communicate with God as much. And I've got a lot of great people that work with me. And, you know, some of them have a difficult life. Some of them come from a very poor background. And, you know, I'm thrilled to death to work with them. And, you know, I look at them as part of our family. And my frustration level hit just about as high as it could, because I'm feeling deep pain because I cannot move forward. I am stuck. And one of the guys that mows our yards, not my yard, but mows yards for our company, normally, you know, we have to help him along. We have to buy the equipment, have to help maintain the equipment, which I'm thrilled to do that, and it helps him to survive. It helps him to make it through life. My wife said he just pulled up, and I opened the garage door and I walk over there and I sit down in the chair, and whenever he comes in, he always gets on his knees. He just sits down. It doesn't matter where it's at. Loves pets, the dogs, the cats, all of it. And he had broke his deck on his mower, and nothing is working, nothing is happening, nothing is going on. And I could feel in myself this burning. I could feel in myself that, okay, I'm on the edge of from the frustration of just getting upset. I could feel it and I could know it, and I knew it. And even though I didn't say anything, even though I didn't allow myself to get out of line during this conversation of this sweet guy that never bothers anybody, never hurts anybody, I could hear myself. I could feel what was inside me. And I am so thankful that I didn't let my frustrations threw my mouth out on him and to say things that I would regret that I would say. But we ended our conversation. He got in the truck. We got the problems resolved. He drove off and I sat down in the garage. And I thought about where I was, what all I've done, what discussions I've had with people about God. And here I am on the edge of just totally losing it through frustration, not knowing which way to turn, not knowing which way to go at all. And I did the best thing that I could do. I said to myself, I don't even like me. I don't like the way I am. And I said, I need to start praying hard right now to God. I started praying to God. I started telling him the frustration, telling him everything that I'd gone through and going through. And I said, Lord, this is the work that you want me to do, but I said, I've got to have some help. I am so frustrated. And it was a Wednesday. My wife was out of town. I was getting ready to head to the church, and the next part of this story is going to be something that happened at the church that, without a doubt, God's hand was involved in it. And look forward to being on location at that site in just a few minutes and explaining what happened and what took place, how it changed everything about the direction I'm going and about the definition of bold and all that I do. I look forward to telling you. So I make it to Wednesday night Bible study, worship, songs, praise. And Samantha's not able to be with me. Her and her sister are out of town. And I've already went through one of the most frustrating days of my life and frustrating times of my life, simply because I don't know what to do. I don't know what direction to take. And I can already tell that it's making me short with people, it's making me short with my wife. I don't like me at this moment. I am so frustrated. I'm frustrated because I don't know what to do. I don't have the background for technology. I'm not going to have the background for technology. It's just something that's not in me. So I make it to church. I walk in late. I sit toward the back. And every now and then on Wednesdays, the pastor will open it up for testimony. And I've actually made testimony a couple of times where I give thanks to God for what he's done, especially after the sting, especially for progress and steps that have been made toward the work that I feel led to do. But on this night, I come to Bible study, to worship time, really in a different place than I can remember being, because God has given me direction. God has told me what to do. And I'm having trouble getting there. And I'm asking him for help. I'm asking him, show me the way, open the door, give me the avenue to go. So I get to worship, I sit down, song service is over. The pastor opens it up for testimony. This isn't a night for me to give testimony. This is the night for me to sit here and keep my mouth shut, because I am just so upset with myself and so frustrated. So it opens up testimony, and it's on a volunteer basis. It's always on a volunteer basis. Anybody that feels led to tell something that God did in their life. And somebody over here raises their hand and stands up and they give their testimony, and I'm listening to it. And then somebody over here stands up and gives testimony, and I listen to it. And then somebody over here gives testimony, and then one more gives testimony over here. And I'm not looking up, I'm not making eye contact with anybody. And I'm sitting here thinking about my frustration, and I hear the pastor speak, and he says, "Lundy Kiger, tell us what you got on your mind." And I have to say that I said to myself, did he just call my name? And I looked up and I said, "Pastor, did you call my name?" "Yeah, stand up and tell us what's on your mind." And at that moment, I just had to shake my head. And it was so clear to me that God is giving me an opportunity to clear my head, that he's given me an opportunity to say something. And I said, "Pastor, yes, I have something to say. I didn't when I got here, but Pastor, yes, I have something that I want to say." So I stood up and I walk over to an area that's a little more centralized to the building. And I look at everyone, and I just opened my heart, and I just said what was on my mind. And this is what I said. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not like me. I am so upset with myself. I am so frustrated with myself. All of you know that what I talk about and what I do on a daily basis is the subject of death. And I said, I want to get the story out, and I've gotten the story out, but it's been to a small area, and I want to get the story out more because God has told me to tell the story and to tell it boldly. And I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know what avenue that I need to take. So I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask you for your prayers on my behalf. Ask you to pray to God to give me direction, to give me the avenue, to give me where it is that I'm supposed to go, because I don't know what it is that I'm supposed to do now. I said, Pastor, that's what I've got on my mind and my heart tonight. So I go back and I sit down. And I got to say, after asking for prayers, I felt better. I felt better that I said it out loud. I felt better because I knew that when I asked this group of people to pray for me, I know their hearts. I know how they feel about God. And this is a group of people like none other that I've been around. They are so full of love for God and for each other. And as we came to a close that night and I got ready to go back home, a lot of the frustration had left. And I felt like I took a step that I'd not taken in my life, to be at a place where I didn't have the answer, and I prayed to God for an answer, but I also asked my brothers and sisters for their help. I knew that that was a special moment in my life, because it was something that I'd never done before, is to ask for help, because we don't do that enough. So I've learned that when I'm in a tight situation, when I don't know which direction to go, I know to tell it to others. Don't go to God by yourself. Ask others to go to God on your behalf. And when I got in my truck and I headed home, I could feel more peace and I felt less frustrated. I wasn't there totally, but I felt so much better than I had before. And you know, I also have to say this. I'd never heard the pastor call somebody to speak, and I haven't heard it since then. But I know that he's a man of God, and he's strong conviction, and he's in touch and in tune with the Holy Spirit. I have no doubt the Holy Spirit led him that night to ask me to testify. And I knew that it was going to change everything that I'm involved in and what I'm doing for my God. So after an amazing night of worship on a Wednesday night, I get up the next morning, and I've got to say that because of the prayers of the church, that I could already tell that I felt better. You know, it's something that I haven't done much, and it's something that we don't do much. We don't ask people for their prayers. We don't ask people to go to God on our behalf for things that we need. I don't know why we don't do that more. But God tells us to tell our troubles to one another. God tells us to help. But why did it take all that frustration for me to take those steps? And I never would have taken those steps if God hadn't been involved in it while I was there at the church. So I get up on Thursday morning and get dressed, getting ready to go to work. Of course, I'm going to have coffee with my wife. And I'm driving, and I've already prayed to God over and over and over. I've already talked to the church and asked them for their prayers. I've gotten up the next morning and sincerely prayed, and I've got to say that I felt a lot better. Still didn't have any answers of what I was going to do, and wondering why God hadn't opened the door. Why can't I pick up the phone and call somebody and find a company that can come in and do videos and help me to tell this wonderful story to the world? Because this is what God has told me to do, and the Holy Spirit said, you've got more work to do. So I'm driving, headed to a project, and I remember a friend of mine that I had talked to a couple of months earlier. I was telling him that I wanted to do a video, I want to do some commercials, and you know, he had told me that, oh, I've got a camera and I do videos, I can do those. And I'll be honest with you, when somebody we know tells us something, sometimes we take it serious, sometimes we don't. And I'll be honest with you, and I've been honest with him. I was thinking that it's probably a tripod with an iPhone. And it's something that a lot of the kids have the ability to do, and I didn't put a whole lot into it at the time. So without anywhere to turn, I picked up the phone and I called him. And I said, Keith, I'd like to come over and look at your setup and see what you've got. And he was gracious, said, yeah, come on over. And I could tell he was excited about showing what he's got and the different things. And of course, I'm thinking a little tripod and an iPhone, because you can do a lot of things with an iPhone. So knock on the door, he answers, we go into a room, and I'd look at it and I think, okay, this is more than a tripod and an iPhone. And I want us to go over and I want to show you some of the equipment that he's got. Keith walked me into a room in his house that he calls his studio. And I've got to say that when I walked in and saw the different equipment that he's got, one of the first things he told me that he's proud of, he's got a couple of Rush Limbaugh microphones. And I looked over and I saw some more equipment. He said he's got 2 teleprompters. And then he's got a camera for inside, got a camera for outside, got lights, got computer. And he said, I do my own podcast. And the more he spoke about his studio and the more he spoke about what he does in his spare time, talking about our nation, talking about our country, the more I think, my frustration had turned from that to almost embarrassment. That, I came in and saw everything that he has gotten and that he has, and, he had told me a couple of months earlier when I began looking for a way to get this word out. And, the more I looked at what he had and explained what he had and the experience that he's got, the more excited that I got of the possibilities of what we can do. And I said, Keith, I'm trying to find somebody that can help me do a commercial. And I know that he can film it, and I know that finding a videographer that does this for a living. I said, I have no idea where to go. I have no idea where to turn. And immediately he said, well, this is where you go. You just Google it. And he said, you're going to find everything that you need. And I sat there and I just thought to myself how foolish I felt. And, this is one of the other things that I think is just so amazing, and it's something that we all do, and I do, but we all do from time to time. We ask. And we're always going to get an answer. And, I ask God, give me direction. Give me an avenue of where I can go to get this done. And God gave me an avenue. God gave me somebody that I could go to. And I let my own human judgment. No, he's not going to be able to do what I need. He's probably got an iPhone and a tripod. And it has turned into one of the greatest things that has happened in this journey of what we're doing. Because not only do we video here in his studio, I also was fortunate to find somebody that special effects videographer that through Keith I was able to find this guy, and who has helped further and produce the rest of these videos and all that we're going to do. So I think as I come to a close of this particular video, I just want to say how we can ask God for direction, we can ask God for help. And when we rely on ourselves just to blow it off and say, nah, that won't work, when it did work. And here is the crazy thing. I went all over 2 states, making phone calls, talking to different people. And Keith, who said, I do videos, lives 1 house down from me. How ironic. God not only gave me somebody, he gave me somebody in my neighborhood that I can work with, and I can never, ever repay what Keith has done to help me in this work. And I've enjoyed every moment that he's videoed, that he preps it to send to the videographer. And as we finish 9 and we work on our final video in 10, I don't think that we're near to the finish, because we have so much more to do. We have so much more to say. And I can promise you, we're going to say it boldly for God. Thank you.